Welcome. I'm Katherine Tucker, Senior Nutrition Consultant at the Administration for Community Living. Has your traditional congregate meal participation declined? Do you have an increase in food insecurity, especially in certain pockets of your community? Are you trying to bring participants back with a new model or attract a younger, older adult population? Whatever your motive, I'm so happy that you found your way to revamping your congregate meal site webinar chat series. This is the second in a four-part series, and we're glad you're here with us today. The value of the congregate meal program cannot be overstated. Over 50 years, the congregate meals have been studied and evaluated, mostly in the traditional setting. Benefits of these traditional congregate meal programs have been shown to improve health and well-being by helping to decrease depression, improve nutritional intake, and allowing older adults to continue to live independently in their own homes. And our network continues to meet the intents of the Older Americans Act by addressing the nutrition, social isolation, and health and well-being of the older adults we serve. As the older adult population continues to change in their needs and preferences, many organizations are being creative to find multiple service delivery models, and truly each model has its own benefit. Congregate meal sites have a wide range of variability. The Older Americans Act always allows for many flexibilities across the senior nutrition program. So each state, area agency on aging, and provider can create services that meet the needs of their communities. That means tailoring the needs, their menus, to local preferences, creating a welcoming environment, making referrals to local organizations to find maybe a falls prevention workshop. It benefits access and more. This four-part series is intended to provide area agencies on aging and meal providers with ideas to revamp and reinvigorate the congregate side. Through this four-part series, you will learn how to make small changes to your congregate sites, or you can make large, more innovative approaches to fit your needs and expected outcomes. Series 1 was on using food trucks to revamp your congregate program, and that has been released, and you can find it on the Nutrition Aging Resource Center. I'll talk a little bit more at the end of this chat where to find it. We also have Series 3 and 4 that'll be coming soon, so make sure you check back so you can watch those as well. Before we begin, it's always important before you start any new programs to reach out to your area agency on aging and your state unit on aging to make sure that you meet all the state and local policy requirements, including any pre-approvals that may be necessary. So, what I'm excited about is now on to our guest. The Jonesboro Senior Center has revamped their congregate program to make small changes over time. The Café Connection program focuses on improving the presentation of their meals and encouraging a social connection for participants. And this has successfully increased their participation and their socialization within the region. I'm pleased to have Mary Region, who has served as the Jonesboro Senior Center Director for the past 8 years. Under her leadership, the Senior Center has achieved national accreditation. In addition, she's led the Jonesboro Senior Center in receiving multiple awards for different things. She has initiated a very successful volunteer transportation program for homebound seniors and the Cafe Connection, a revamp of the Senior Center's congregate lunch program with an emphasis on mealtime socialization. So Ms. Region has a bachelor's in science and human ecology from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, with a concentration in healthcare management. Mary, I am so glad you've joined us today to help others learn more about your program and how you can make small, sustainable changes in their traditional congregate program that can make a big impact for the older adults that they serve. Can you provide a brief description of your Cafe Connection program?
Sure. Thank you, Catherine, for this opportunity today. Our Cafe Connection offers our participants a chance to have a meal in a less institutionalized way. We take the meal that we receive from our local First Tennessee Human Resource Agency, and we plate that on real plates, ceramic plates. We use colorful bowls, seasonal napkins, real silverware, and just to make that presentation of the meal that we're already receiving just look different, to be something more like we would have at home. We enhance those meals. We add fresh fruits, fresh vegetables from our community garden. And that garden is a joint partnership with the University of Tennessee Extension Service. So they water it, harvest, they're in charge of cooking classes, harvesting classes. And so that's just been a really great partnership for us to have kind of an avenue to get those items to be able to enhance the meals that we're serving. In addition to that, on Wednesdays, our staff actually prepares the meal ourselves. We cook that from scratch. We started out doing a brunch. And that was a lot of fun because everybody loves breakfast for lunch. And then from that, we now also have, normal, more traditional lunch items. But to those meals, we try to use as many fresh items from our garden to add to those meals. And then, of course, supplementing that, we did receive a grant to start this program. And so any additional food, we would purchase from a local grocery store or a farmer's market. But it's just been a really great program. It's been great to see the change in our participation and our members' enjoyment of Cafe Connection.
Wow, and it's amazing how such small adjustments truly made a big impact. So what gave you the idea to start making these changes to your congregate site?
Well, really, the idea came, during the pandemic. We all, of course, struggled in different ways. Our center was closed for 7 months, and during that time, we did more of a kind of drive-through style where we would take the meal out to our participants to their car. And that was the best that we could do. That was in partnership, again, with our local human resource agency. Once those restrictions lifted and we were able to open our center back up, really kind of looking around at that sort of TV tray, style dinner with the plastic covering, that just really wasn't cutting it for us anymore. We just saw, of course, so many of our members had struggled with isolation. And so we really started brainstorming as a team, partnering with our advisory board, our local First Tennessee Human Resource Agency, First Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability, and just really started talking about what were some things that we were allowed to do, of course, to start with, but what were some just really small things to take that meal, because of course, it would be not feasible to cook something fresh every day, but how could you take that food that they were providing and make it more appealing? And so really just, the desire to see our members have just more opportunities to socialize, to be excited about coming to lunch, to view those meals in a different light is really kind of what was the driving force behind wanting to revamp the program, wanting it to be different. And so we just started, from that point. We also had support from our local state representative and our state senator. I think that's important as well. You have to have, you're not an island. You can't just go on your idea. You've really got to involve, those around you, those agencies around you. But just seeing the need and just really wanting to respond to that need.
So collaborating and partnering with other organizations can be so helpful when expanding your reach in the community. And I've been singing that for years, and it's great you found success in those partnerships. What benefits do you see in your program from implementing these changes?
Well, we've seen a huge increase in our participation. Previous to making these changes, we were really seeing more, 4 to 5 people participating, especially right after the pandemic. That was a slow program to start back up. When we started making these changes, when we started offering the Cafe Connection on Wednesdays, slowly it was growing. We got excited every week when it was like, hey, we have 12 people this week. We have 15 people this week. We're now seeing crowds closer to 30. So that's a huge increase when you look at having something that was only drawing 4 to 5 people. And then at the end of it, where we are now continuing this program that we're seeing 30 people and they're excited, they're laughing, they're joining up with each other. They've made new friends. We really try to work very hard to, increase that socialization through kind of staff encouraged conversations. Certainly we seek out anybody who's new to make sure that they meet other participants so that they feel welcome. It's kind of like walking into high school. It's a little bit scary, like what table am I going to sit at? And so making a way that they, feel welcome and, hey, we're so glad you're here today. has just really been great. You know, a lot of our members share with us that during the pandemic, you know, they struggled, and some still struggle with food insecurity. And so being able to supplement that, being able to provide those things that maybe otherwise they wouldn't be able to have access to fresh produce, that's just been really, you know, that's been an incredible part of the program, is that we're seeing them now have access to those fresh items. And, you know, if we have extra, which we now of course do because our garden is really doing great, which is exciting to see. But we're able to now send that produce also to our homebound seniors. So those folks that are receiving those Meals on Wheels are also getting to enjoy the benefit of the fresh produce from our garden. And then anything additional above that, we set out for our members, anybody who comes through, just to help theirself. And we've been seeing that kind of a pay it forward, where other members and other participants, other folks in the community are bringing their produce items from their own home gardens and sharing that as well. So it's been just a really neat experience. It's been neat to see it grow and just to see their lives be enriched from just making these small changes.
Yeah, and you provided some pictures for demonstration and with the difference of what those meals look like. I'm going to share my screen real quick just to show the audience what this looked like. So what I'm sharing now is you can see the difference of what the tray would have looked like prior and then what it looks like with just changing how the food is being presented. Same food, minor changes. And I just think that this really shows the difference when you go in, you know, if you were to go into a restaurant, what, you know, what you receive really does make a difference on whether or not you return. So I thank you for the pictures, and I'm very happy we were able to share those today.
Yes, thank you.
Also, the benefits you noted are amazing. So I bet seeing the participants flourish from these small changes has been really rewarding to see.
It has been. You know, I'll share just a kind of a quick story. When we first started, and to me, this is one of kind of the more basic meals, but the meal that day was a ham sandwich. And, you know, replating a ham sandwich, but we added our fresh lettuce from our garden. We added some fresh fruit in a colorful bowl with a fun seasonal napkin, and just taking something that was so basic, but taking it out and plated the way that, you know, was demonstrated in the picture. The members, our participants, you know, their whole face, their faces lit up and they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And, you know, when you think about something can be basic, you know, it's not about reinventing the wheel and we're, you know, just throwing, you know, we're not going to serve this food at all. We're just going to do something totally different. We're taking the food that we're all receiving. It's just we're displaying it in a different way. We're dressing it up. We're being more intentional with the way that it's served. And then, you know, like I've shared, is just, you know, adding a few fresh things, you know, that can be, we've done a lot of cucumbers and tomatoes from our garden. We've done, you know, a lot of fresh fruit, but just those little things and just seeing their reaction to that, it really makes our participants feel very special. They feel like you're glad they're there, and that how they enjoy their meal does matter, that we don't just, you know, sling out a tray, but that we actually take that extra minute to put those things on something that's real, and just make it, you know, an experience that they want to have, an experience they keep coming back to, and that they share that. You know, word of mouth has been a huge growth for our Cafe Connection, people telling their friends about it. And it's been really neat. It's kind of been, it's been the thing that continues to drive our team here, is seeing their reaction. That tells us that it is worth the work, because it is extra work, but it is worth it. And you know, that's why we're all here. That's why we all work with seniors, or those in need, is because we have to have that driving force of wanting to see it be better and different.
And once you get that reaction, you really just want to continue to get that reaction. So, I mean, you keep
Yes.
working to, you know, almost continue to improve and continue. What can we do next? So, what action steps do you recommend others to follow when making these type of changes to their congregate site?
I would say, first for us, we felt like Congregate was very institutional. So for us, we wanted to try to rename our program that piqued people's interest, kind of curiosity about what that was all about. And so in staff discussions, advisory board, we came up with a name, Cafe Connection, which we felt like was it's a fun name. It sounds very inclusive. But then also you've got to have buy-in, like I mentioned, you've got to have buy-in from your staff. I'm not a one-man show, and I'm very fortunate the team that I have the same heart for this work, but you've got to have buy-in from your staff. And then reaching out to local agencies. I mentioned our First Tennessee Human Resource Agency, our First Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability, your state and local representatives. We, of course, partner with the University of Tennessee Extension Service. But it could even be things like your local churches, your local grocery stores, farmers markets, but just kind of getting the word out of what you're wanting to do. And then, having people, kind of offer what they can, what their part could be. It doesn't have to be a huge first step. It can be something very small. Like I mentioned, the first thing we did, it was the real plates. It was, real silverware, not eating off plasticware. But you've really got to have that support and buy-in, your local town government, but just really seeking that support and sharing what your vision is, what your thoughts are, but making sure that you're on track with what, your advisory board thinks would work. But I think that's a very important first step is doing that. And then from there, once you've got that support and you've got that momentum, is just changing things slowly, meeting with your team, making sure that everybody can handle the things that you're doing, continuing to check in with people, because I think if you throw it all at them at once, it's hard to keep something like that going. I mean, change is hard, but it's worth it. So I think just keeping everybody involved throughout all the different processes, but just starting, just something little, it could be putting a tablecloth on the table. It could be arrangement of flowers, whether they're fresh or artificial, but just commit to something. Pick something and say, I'm going to change this, and then try that for a while and then add to it.
And I know your community garden works in conjunction with your Congregate program. So, and that is, well, we know that's been a huge benefit as far as a success with your Cafe Connection. What action steps would you want to offer, or would you recommend people follow to start their own community garden?
So we were very fortunate to receive a grant, and that was how we started, of course, Cafe Connection and our garden. That was what we were able to purchase the gardening supplies with. We also received a generous donation of seeds, and so that helped get that started. But just gardens can be started. They can be in container gardens. They can be raised beds. Maybe you have a participant who has, a piece of property they would be willing to share. Local agricultural, you can check with, schools. A lot of times high schools have agriculture departments. But just kind of, working with what you have. And so for us, we were able to we have 12 raised beds in our adjacent park. And so that's what we use. And then, of course, that relationship with the University of Tennessee Extension Service is crucial, just in terms of the amount of, involvement that they have, the watering, but that could be achieved, with volunteers as well. So again, it's that buy-in, it's sharing with your participant base, putting it out in the community. It's a great volunteer opportunity. A lot of times people enjoy volunteering outside, working with plants. It might be something that maybe they no longer can maintain their own garden at home, but they would love the opportunity to work in that. And so just really kind of developing a plan there. We have a watering schedule, a harvesting schedule. And so we've been able to get a lot from that, which has been crucial to the program surviving. Is not everything that we're using, we're not purchasing. A lot of it is coming from our community garden.
And two, what a wonderful activity for people to get involved in at the center. I mean, being able to be a part of that is just good exercise, even if it is watering or just walking around and checking on things. That could be a
Yes.
wonderful addition. And I think those action steps can really help providers start on the right track. And and it's really sustainable changes because
Mhm,
you did make them so slowly. And
mhm.
sometimes a simple conversation with potential partners can expand opportunities you weren't aware of. So
Absolutely.
I'm sure your extension agents, your extension agency was a huge factor in those communications. It's like, what can we do? How can we do this together? So also with the benefits that you received, by exceeding the participants' expectations, it seems to be that was a wonderful marketing strategy because the word of
Oh,
mouth
yes.
really makes a huge difference with generating new
Absolutely.
participants.
Absolutely. Having that word of mouth is key. They're excited. We actually have a participant in our Cafe Connection, and she used to work for the town. And so she's been one of our biggest spokesperson. And she tells me all the time, everywhere I go, I tell everybody about how great it is. And, that's really awesome when you have people excited about it, when they look forward to it. We have a lot of people that come every single day and eat. And you mentioned about the park. I mean, that's really kind of just manifested into classes. It's grown from just being the garden. Now we're having gardening classes. We're having harvesting classes. We're looking towards a canning class, fall gardening classes. So it's really grown into also, like you said, encouraging people to be outside. But it's just been really neat to just see kind of that spark that started with Cafe Connection, and it's not just now been only Cafe Connection. It's grown into several other things. We're seeing those people that started participating in the lunch program. They're doing more things here as well. They're participating in more of our health classes, our fitness classes. We're seeing them. They're already here, so then they might also stay for bingo, very popular activity. But they're staying for other things, and they're interested in where the vegetables came from. They're wanting to go down and explore the garden. And so just kind of that like I said, that spark, it's really grown into even more than just the lunch program.
Well, and I mean, isn't that what we are? We are more than a meal. So that's what this program is. And, you bring them in with a meal, but you want them to keep coming back for all the other benefits that they can get from
Absolutely.
this. And I'd also like to add the Nutrition Aging Resource Center has numerous resources devoted to ideas just like this. So by visiting acl.gov/senior-nutrition, you can go to browse resources, which has numerous areas to go to, but you can head to the Congregate part, and finally you can click on Creativity and Innovation, where you will find this webinar series as well as other creative ideas. So it's devoted to a lot of different things that you can do to really revamp your Congregate program and even the home delivered meal program. One of the resources that you'll find on there is institutional or innovative, what the setting of your Congregate meal that basically says to your guests. And you can venture around this site and you will not be disappointed. Mary, what advice would you give someone interested in making these changes in their congregate setting?
I would say just, again, is getting that initial support, reaching out, sharing your ideas, and just making sure that, what you're wanting to do, you've got support for it, sharing those ideas, looking for volunteers so that you have that basis of support to start something like this. And then just, starting small. Just start with, commit to one small thing. And then if that works and it's manageable and your team can do it or your volunteer base can keep it going, then add to that. And then I think ask for feedback, talk with your participants, make sure what you're doing is what they're looking for. Maybe you learn that they'd like to see you have more, casseroles, or they'd like to see you have more, pineapple or whatever it is, but make sure that the things you're making, changes you're making for them are things that they're looking for. So I think just that continued communication with your participant base, your advisory board, your local area agencies, just, talking with them. But I think it has to come from a place of you want to see the change. You want it to be better for them. And then I think that, that's been our driving force is we just had such a strong desire to see it be better, to see it be more dignified, to see our folks feel like they were special and that we were glad they were here. So I would say just, start small. Just pick one thing. Say this week I'm going to do real napkins, or I'm going to do, a colorful bowl, or I'm going to add some fresh fruit to this meal that we already are serving. But just, try something. Try something different.
And I think that is where everybody can take just starting that small step. Just take that one small change and start there, and then you let it grow. Be open to new ideas on ways that you can improve your program, because all of us can improve. There's not a program out there that doesn't have room to grow or room to improve. Mary, thank you for sharing your Cafe Connection program with us today. You've shared several Congregate Revamp ideas that's very exciting, and we wish you the best as you continue to expand those options. I know that that's something that we've talked about that you want to continue to do, and I hope those watching will find this information helpful and encouraging. Being able to identify a need in your region and filling that need in a new way is the definition of being innovative. The senior nutrition program has proven to be beneficial for older adults. However, if they're not participating, they're not able to benefit from the services. By revamping your congregate meal sites, you can potentially increase awareness and participation within your services. Therefore, you can make a lasting change in the lives of the older adults that we serve. I want to thank you for watching today. I've posted Mary's contact information up so you can see there's a link also to the Nutrition Aging Resource Center where this webinar and other resources that you may find helpful. There's plenty to choose from there. Just please go to that site and find everything that you should need. Also, Mary, I want to thank you so much for chatting with me today. I've just really enjoyed hearing about your program.
Thank you, Catherine. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this.
So I want everyone to be on the lookout for more webinar chats coming your way to help you explore ways to revamp your congregate program by using ideas like food trucks, restaurant partnerships, or even strategies for encouraging participation to energize your congregate meal sites. So I want to thank you for watching today, and I'll see you at the next chat.